colleague Antoine with me today, and today we're going to be going over Ascribe Coder, and we're going to be focusing on dual code books. And before I go any further, let me just say that the attendees will be muted as I go through this demonstration or through this little PowerPoint demonstration. So if you have any questions as we go through this, please submit them via chat, and Antoine will address them or ask me to address them as I go through it. To access your chat, it is over in your GoToMeeting dashboard, and you should see right above chat a section for materials. I've put two downloads in the materials section. One is the PowerPoint that I use before every one of these webinars, and the other is the help system for dual code books. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with my PowerPoint. All right, again, this is an Ascribe Coder webinar. My name is Laura Rice. I'm the Director of Training here at Ascribe. And I always like to start out just talking a little bit about where we are with Ascribe Coder, a little bit of the history of it, and then getting into what to expect in the future for Ascribe Coder. Ascribe Coder was released on September 20th of 2013, so it's been out for a bit. It is available on our live servers. I can't stress that enough. You can get to Ascribe Coder today by right-clicking on a question and choosing Ascribe Coder. We have many people using it today for coding. I'm hopeful that everyone who's on this call has used it at one point in time for coding and continues to use it. All right. This happens every time. I don't know why it waits for me to go. There we go. I want to go back one, though. There we go. Okay. All right. Yes. So we encourage you to use it for coding today. Ascribe Coder merges the functionality of 4 pages. It merges the functionality of review responses, the single response coder interface, edit the codebook, and the codebook editor preview, which was taken away when we released Ascribe Coder on September 20th of 2013. Really, Ascribe Coder is based on review responses. It's basically an upgraded version of review responses. And I just like to say that to people because when I say it merges the functionality of 4 pages, everyone sort of gets a little freaked out, like it's a complete rewrite. But really, it is based on review responses. For any of you that have used it, you can attest to that. Ascribe Coder was developed with the feedback of our user community. The developers actually took our user wish list and looked for all the requests for review responses in the single response coder interface. And they took the most important things from our users group meetings and tried to address those things with Ascribe Coder. I should say that our users group does meet the second Wednesday of every month. And if you're interested in participating or wanting to have a voice in the future of Ascribe, it'd be very nice for you to participate in the users group. And all you have to do is send an email to support, and we'll get you involved in that. The other thing to the users group actually has been working with Ascribe Coder from prototype stage to release, giving feedback. So just to let you know that. Also, Ascribe Coder was written to be supported in multiple browsers. Internet Explorer wasn't doing everything we needed it to do, and more people were using Google Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. So we had to step Ascribe into the arena where it could be multiple browser compatible. And that's, again, one of the reasons for the rewrite of review responses, single response coder interface, and edit the codebook into Ascribe Coder. All right. This next slide is more about, I'm going to focus more on the future of Ascribe Coder rather than what we've done since the release. If you're interested in the things we've done since the release, they're available here in version 7.5 and the version 7.5 patches. So you can download this PowerPoint again in your materials section. But what I want to talk about is what we're looking forward to with Ascribe Coder. Version 7.6, which is scheduled for the end of March, and we're currently testing, we'll see the release of a spell check for Ascribe Coder. And this is a server-side spell check that that will also be released in the translation, transcription windows, edit responses, and edit respondent windows. And then version 8 will actually see the removal of review responses, the single response coding interface, and edit the codebook. So this is tentatively scheduled for June of 2014. And this is probably the most important thing that I'll say today is, we are removing review responses, the single response coder interface, and edit the codebook. So, and it is currently scheduled for June of 2014. Version 8.1 will see the release of Illustrator so that we can visualize some of the work that we do in Ascribe Coder. Version 8.2, which is scheduled for August of 2014, we'll see an updated version of Phrase Analyzer. I have questions about this all the time. Ascribe Coder was not written to replace Phrase Analyzer. You'll notice that in version 8, we are not removing Phrase Analyzer in version 8. Rather, in version 8.2, we're releasing an updated version of Phrase Analyzer. And from what I understand, that updated version of Phrase Analyzer and the existing Phrase Analyzer will kind of exist hand in hand for a little while until everybody is moved to the new version of Phrase Analyzer. Also in version 8.2, some of the Ascribe desktop functionality will be moving back to Ascribe Web, and mainly that's the merge map capabilities. Version 8.3, which is scheduled for October of 2014, we've slated the removal of Ascribe desktop for that one and some ACM updates. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say just to get everybody on the same page with Ascribe Coder, what's coming, where we're at. Now I'm going to actually get into Ascribe. And I'm using Google Chrome today to access Ascribe Coder. You can use Google Chrome, IE 10, IE 11, Firefox, or Safari on a Mac. It's all up to you. IE 8 doesn't work especially well in Ascribe Coder, and IE 9 has some drag-drop issues. But I just wanted to make sure I said that because a lot of people are asking what browser should I use. When I'm using Chrome, I do have a few things that I can't access. When I'm using Google Chrome, I do not have access to Phrase Analyzer because it hasn't been written yet for multi-browser compatibility. I also do not have access to review responses, the multiple response, review responses or the single response coder interface. And you'll notice that my Excel icons are missing on my tables, so I can't export my tables to Excel. All of those things are being addressed. Well, the Excel icons and Phrase Analyzer will be accessible, multi-browser compatible in upcoming releases. All right, so now on to the task at hand to talk about dual codebooks in Ascribe Coder. Before I talk about dual codebooks, I do want to do a refresher for everybody on copying and sharing codebooks. And the reason that I want to do a refresher is to make sure that you understand that this functionality isn't going away, that dual codebooks is just another way for us to copy codebooks. So I'm going to actually go into my exercises, and we're going to focus on just copying and sharing a few codebooks in this study before we get into Ascribe Coder and talk about dual codebooks. One thing to note, when I right-click, again, I'm in Chrome, and you'll notice that there is no Phrase Analyzer or review responses or code this question. Again, that's because they're not available in Chrome. We get some support emails about that often, so just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. So I'm going to go into exercise 3. Let me just take a look at my exercise 3 code book. Well, there it is. Okay, so this is my exercise 3 code book. And what I want to do with my exercise 3 code book is I want to copy it to exercise 5, exercise 5A. So to do that, what I can do, I can right-click on exercise 3 and hit copy share codebook 2. And notice when I do copy share codebook 2, I get a list of all of the questions in this study that I can copy the codebook from exercise 3 to. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it to exercise 5A. Now hit copy and hit OK. So if I wanted to copy an entire code book, this is still the way I would do it. Okay? So now I've got the code book that I use in Exercise 3 now populates Exercise 5 under Bar 1. It's a copy of that code book. They are not shared. If I want to share Exercise 5, sorry, it's in Exercise 5A. Take a quick look at that. There we go. If I want to share the code book from Exercise 5A, I'm just going in to make sure to show that. There we go. That's my code book. So I want to share the code book that's now in Exercise 5A with B and C. Again, I'm going to right-click and do Copy Share Codebook 2. And I can now say, you know what, I want to share, and maybe I'll put it in 6A, B, and C too. And I can choose Share. Again, okay, so now those are shared. Again, I know most of you understand how this works, but I know there's a few that do not, and I want to make sure I cover this before we get into dual code books and everybody thinks that's the only way to copy code books. Okay, so now I've shared those code books. What if I want to unshare? This is a question that's been coming up. If I want to unshare 6A from this group of shared code books, what I would do is in my choose columns, I would make sure that I'm showing my shared questions. And in my shared questions column, I'll click on that and I can unshare. So I've now unshared 6A. 6A is now a copy rather than a share. Unshare, okay, copy. So that is one of the ways that we can unshare code books, because the ability to unshare code books is not available in Ascribe Coder today. Okay? All right, so we did copy, we've done Copy Share Codebook 2. Let's talk about Copy Share Codebook From. We have another way to get codebooks, and it's called Copy Share Codebook From. In Copy Share Codebook From, what that allows us to do is navigate out to a question in another study. We can actually copy a codebook from a question in this study, a question in another study, copy a codebook from our account codebooks, or if we use ACM, we could copy an accelerator coding model. Okay? So Copy Share Codebook From gives us access to all the studies on our account. So if I needed to copy a codebook from, let's say, my static hair partially coded study, I could do that. And I could pick the question that I wanted to copy it from, hit copy or share, whatever it is, hit OK. Notice that it tells me, hey, you already had a code book here. It wasn't used, so I can replace it. But do I really want to replace it? I'm going to say yes. All right? So that's how Copy Share Codebook From works. We do have one other option for copying code books, and it's the Copy Share Manager. I'm not going to go into that today. I will be scheduling a webinar in March to go over the Copy Share Manager. A lot of the functionality of our codebook editor, or Edit the Codebook, has been replicated in the Copy Share Manager. So we'll be addressing that sometime in March. All right? So any questions about Copy Share Codebook 2 or Copy Share Codebook From before I actually get into dual codebooks? Antoine, did anything come up?
Nothing so far.
Okay, great. All right. So now I'm going to actually get into dual codebooks. And what I'm going to do is actually go into this empty study here. And I'm going to go into the like this question and choose Ascribe Coder. So I'm going to add one code to this code book before we get started. And the reason I add the one code is just so that you see what we've got going on here. Okay. All right. So when we go to dual codebooks is accessible by clicking on the navigation icon, and that's how we get to dual codebooks. Dual codebooks is basically a way for us to copy nets or codes from multiple codebooks into the codebook we're creating. Okay? So I'm creating a codebook for this question called Like This, and it's what did you like or dislike most about this product. So I'm going to go into dual codebooks. And really, dual codebooks is just two codebook editors side by side. If I go back to Ascribe Coder, you'll notice that this side of the page, the codebook pane, is basically replicated twice when we go to dual codebooks. Okay? The right side of the screen is the codebook that we've navigated through, or the codebook for the question that we've navigated through. Okay, so this is the codebook for my like this question. All right? The left side of the screen lets me pick another codebook from my account to display. So what I can do, and it's kind of cool, it allows me to search for codes. Okay? And it allows me to search for codes by code description. Okay? I can also search for codebooks by a codebook ID if I've got account codebooks or I know the codebook ID. But in most cases, what I'll do is search for an actual code description. So if I search for static, it's going to bring up a list of all the codebooks that have the word static in it. And the list will be sorted with the codebooks that have static in it the most at the top. Okay? So this codebook has 72 codes, and static appears how many times? 9 times, 10 times. And these are the codes in the nets that have the word static in them. Okay? And this is in our webinar February 2014 study. And it's the Q9 question. I can look at the study of the question information by clicking on the question, and that lets me drill down into the question information. I can see the study information by clicking on the study, and this gives me my study information. It's taking just a second to come up. Here's my study information. Okay. If I want to look at my codebook, then I click on the codebook link. And it tells me how many nets, how many empty nets, how many codes, how many unused codes. And a list that are then the actual codebook. Okay? And it only shows me the first 20 that came up. So if I wanted something more specific, I'd need to search for something more specific. A question that came up in my previous session was, can I search by question ID or can I search by study ID here? And currently you cannot. But it is a request that that we're tracking, that we're going to be talking about with the development team, is the ability to search for code by study ID and question ID. And part of the reason for that is because we have the copy share codebook from option at the question level. Okay, this is more for finding a codebook that has a certain word in it. Okay, or a certain series of words in them. All right. I'm going to actually look for an account codebook now and hit search. And it brings up, and this is a specific account. I only have a couple of account codebooks. But this brings up the 3 codebooks that have the word static in them. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my hair care likes. So once I find my codebook and I display it, and again, I displayed it, I searched for it, I hit search to display it. I fill the little dot in there. I just select it and then hit OK, and it displays the codebook for me. Once the codebook is displayed, I can do this codebook is now editable. I can do whatever I want with this codebook, just as if I were in Ascribe Coder. Okay, I can unlock it. I can lock it. Same as I can over here. Okay, again, these are just 2 codebook editing tools side by side. So what I usually do in this case is I'll unlock both of them, and I can actually copy. In this case, I'll copy my efficacy net. I can copy my efficacy net and paste it into my like this codebook. So I'm creating my like this codebook by searching, and maybe this time I want to bring up my dislikes codebook. So now I've got my dislikes codebook up over here, my hair care dislikes codebook, and I unlock it. And maybe I want to put my efficacy net into this one. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to hit paste into. So now I've got efficacy net likes, or positive, I guess I should say, and efficacy net, oh, this is actually dislikes, here, just to make it easier, neg. And then I've got my efficacy net pos. Okay? So, again, the idea with dual code books is that we can bring up or search for a code book, a net, something, and then build a code book by pulling just one net or one code at a time over. Okay? So maybe what you want to do, maybe you have a standard net that goes in all your code books. You could make that standard net your account code book, an account code book, and then every time you build a code book, you could go into the dual code books and pull that standard net over. Okay? Again, we can copy one code at a time or one net at a time. So now if I insert, or I'm sorry, paste, it allows me to either paste into or paste below. In this case, I'm going to hit paste below. So it put residue net below. Well, I already had residue net up here, but it put it below here. Okay. All right. So we can also select multiple codes. So if we had a list of codes that we always use, and to build our code book, we were just pulling over certain codes, I can select multiple codes, right-click, and say copy selected codes. And then, Antoine, your typing is maybe I need to mute. Oh, that's okay. There we go. And then choose paste and paste below. So you can do multiple codes at one time. One of the questions we had before was can we select multiple nets and then right-click and say select copy selected nets. We don't have that option yet, but it is, again, a case that we've opened. So if I were to do this, it wouldn't copy anything. It wouldn't put anything in for me. Rather, I'd have to do them one at a time. Okay? All right. So that's basically how dual code books work. One of the things that I want to make sure that I say is that, again, if there's something I wanted to delete over here, all of my normal tools for editing the code book work over here. Okay, I can and hit the delete, and boom, and away it goes. Okay, so I can use all my regular tools here. The other thing is, when you bring a code book up on the left side here, you can edit that code book. So if this code book comes from a question in a study, then you could actually, you can edit that code book while it's up in the screen. It's not just a copy of the code book. It is the code book that exists in that question. All right? So I believe I've covered most everything. I was going to actually cover master code books today too, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to set up another session to do that. But the most important thing to remember is that, one, the changes that you're making to the actual code book. Two, to do the copy and paste, you do have to unlock the code books. I have to remember that every time. I can hit copy, and then I come over here and I try to hit paste, and it's not available till I unlock my code book. Okay. When I hit paste, it actually gives me the option usually to paste below or into if I've clicked on a net. So it depends on where I click as to where the paste will appear, where it'll paste the codes or the nets that I've selected. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. Did anybody have any questions or anything that needed to be addressed?
Yes, we have a few questions.
Okay, great.
The first one is dealing with searching for code books. The user wants to know what order does the study show up once you're searching for them.
Okay, so if I'm searching for static, let me search for something else. We'll search for frizz. For one, I can search by open ends. For open ends, other specifies are closed ends. I'm going to just go ahead and hit open. And the studies will show up, the ones with the search item in it most often will appear at the top. Okay? So it displays them in in that order, with the ones that have the code most often, or the search string in it most often at the top. Okay? And I believe after that, and it'll only show us the first 20, and after that, from what I understand, it'll just list them. I'm not sure if it's alphabetical after that or what it is after that. I can check that out. Do you know that one right off the top of your head, Antoine?
No, I don't.
I don't know the answer to that one right off the top of my head. I just know that it displays the ones with that search string in the most often at the top, and then goes down from there.
Okay, the next question is, do we have the ability to bring up studies that are in the repository?
No, we do not. From what I understand, we're only searching studies that currently exist on your account, not in the repository. That's something though that we can talk about. We'll make a note of that and ask if we could have a repository option here. But I don't know how that would be possible. We can ask that. All right. What else?
We have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to have 2 sessions open for the same person so they can see how much was coded on another study?
Yes. Let me think about that for a minute. So Antoine, am I understanding this correctly? They want to have another Ascribe session open, right?
Yes.
Okay. You're only going to be able to unlock a code book at one time, right? So you can have another session open, but if this code book is shared, you're not going to be able to unlock it. But yeah, you can have 2 sessions open. Now, 2 open sessions can be tricky, especially if you're using IE. You've got to make sure that you're starting your sessions, or the 2 sessions will become one. That gets confused. So if you're interested in that, we can talk about that offline. Antoine, do you want to know who that is, and we can see if we can talk to them more about that offline?
Yes.
And did I miss the idea of the question? Does this not pertain to dual code books, or does it?
I believe she is referring to dual code books, having 2 different dual code, having 2 sessions open. From my understanding, is 2 sessions open, one with the dual code book and one looking at the actual other. Oh, scratch that. She said no. It wasn't for dual code book, so we can address this also.
All right. Cool. Okay.
Laura, can you go over when you're searching for a code book and you said it displays the code book with the most reoccurrences? Can you explain it again? Some users are wondering why when you search for Frizz, your first option has 100 showing 159, the second one showing 247.
Okay.
So can you explain those are the actual codes?
Yes. So okay, I searched for FRIZ. What I'm going to see is a list of those code books that have FRIZ in them. Okay? The first thing I'm going to see is the code book that has the most occurrences of FRIZ. So here, there are 3 occurrences of FRIZ. There's 159 codes total, but there's only 3 FRIZ. In this code book, there's 247 codes, but there's only 2 that have FRIZ in them. Okay? Here there's 307, but only 2 that have FRIZ. And as we go down, you'll see now we get to where there's only 1. Only 1. Only 1. So that's that. Does that explain that? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. And we've been asking, we meaning Ascribe users, the users group, back when I used to code all the time, we requested the ability to search our entire database of code books for a code by a word. You know, we want to search for a character string, search the actual code description. And this is an amazing improvement for those of us that might, you know, maybe we get a vacuum cleaner study and we say, okay, I know I've got a vacuum cleaner code book. I don't know the study ID right off the top of my head. Let me look and see how we did this last time. Well, you now have a tool that lets you look for, you know, you can look for vacuum and see what comes up and find it. So it's allowing us to do that. And then if we do find that code book, we have that option to copy the whole thing right here. I do still have the option, sorry, if it's unlocked, I do still have the option to select all, and then I can right click and paste, and it would paste the entire, well, it should paste, oh. It should paste the entire guy over. That's interesting. I suppose, Antoine, that's not going to work, is it? Because it's more nets. It's just going to want to paste in the codes, isn't it? Not the nets in the codes.
Right.
Okay. I need to figure that out because I just did it earlier today, but I don't know what I did to select them all, to copy them all and pull it over. Oh, I did this. I did copy and then paste. And it pastes the entire code book over. I'm like, I know I did that earlier. So I don't have to select. Rather, all I have to do is hit copy and then paste over here, and it'll paste the entire code book in. This has the same effect as if I were using copy code book from and copying the code book over, okay? But here, at least, I can search for the code book I'm looking for first by a word and then copy it over. All right, so again, just so I don't confuse everybody, I can copy the entire code book and paste the entire code book. All right. And this is part of the reason I showed the copy code book from and the copy code book to up front. So I wanted to make sure you guys realize that you can still do those functions that way. This is just a way to search for a specific code in a code book or find a code book that has a specific character string in it and then copy it over. The other cool thing about this is if you have one of those code books or one of those questions where you need to pull code books or pull nets from different places, you know, this allows you to do that. So if I needed a net here for static, but then maybe this was, you know, one of those studies where we've interviewed, you know, people on their favorite dishwashing liquid and their favorite dog food. So we need a list for dog food and dishwashing liquids in our code book. We can do that. And I know that sounds funky, but it happens. I've seen it. So this allows us to do that. Any other questions coming up, Antoine?
Yes. Can you go back to searching for a code book?
Sure.
And the question is, when you search for Frizz, the first code book said 159 codes. Does that mean 159 codes in that code book or 159 codes applied from that code book?
It means that there are 159 codes, and by net and code count. Okay, 32 nets, 127 codes. Okay, it doesn't show me applied codes. We're just dealing with the code book. So, okay, I search for Frizz. It brings up the first 20. It lists the ones with Frizz the most often first. What I see here, this is my code book. If I need information about my code book, I click on my code book link. I've got 32 nets and 127 codes in this code book, which should equal and does equal 159 codes. So it's a count of the codes and nets in my code book. All right? Then it lists the number of codes. One of the things that I know when Julie and I were first testing this, we wanted a count for the number of times that this Frizz came up, but it didn't seem to be that important. So if that's something that you guys decide that you need, the count of the codes that have the word frizz in it, then we can put that there. But this number just tells me how many codes are in the code book. This shows me the number of codes that has the word frizz in them. This is the study that this came from. This is the question ID. Okay, so the next one had 247 codes, 41 nets, and 206 codes. It also does tell us how many codes are unused. So that's what we're seeing here.
Okay,
Antoine, do I need to say that a different way? Can you think of a better? I don't know how else to explain that.
no, I think with you showing the code book information and explaining it gives a visual, and it's better understandable.
Okay, good. All right. What else?
Here's another question about searching for code books. So if I want to search for a code, search for either efficacy or effectiveness, could I use an expression? So could I type, in case EFF with the greater and less than symbols to search?
I don't think so. I think this is just a straight search. I haven't asked that question, and I don't have anything documented on that. So that's a very good question. If you want to search for more than one thing at a time, can you do that? I wonder. I know he's been using a lot of these. No. All right. Make sure. Okay. I can ask that. We'll make a note to ask how we can or and search.
Okay.
I think this is just a straight search. So, any other questions?
Yes. A user wants to know, how do they make a code book and an account code book? Oh,
to make a code book and account code book, you can do this from Ascribe Coder. You can do it from dual Codebooks. So you click on the Codebook node, Codebook Properties, toggle on Account Codebook. Usually you give it a name. This is whatever codebook. You can do it that way. Usually if I'm going to make something an account codebook, I'll make a copy of it first in a dummy question and then make it an account codebook, so that way my account codebook isn't linked to the original. Because if I make this an account codebook, basically this codebook is shared with my account codebook, and whenever I change my account codebook, it will change this codebook. I am going to, when I talk about master codebooks, I'm going to go into, I'm actually working on a little matrix for account codebooks and master codebooks, like how to do it, best practices for account codebooks, and so on and so forth. But if you want to create an account codebook today, you just right-click Codebook Properties and then fill out your little form. But again, for me, what I would do and what I have been doing is I would create a dummy question and copy that codebook to it, and then create the account codebook, because I don't want my account codebook linked to a live study. Or I'd make a copy of that study and restore it to make my account codebooks. But yeah, I can. That will go into great detail on that one in our master codebook account codebook session in March. All right.
Okay, we have another question about searching for code books.
Okay.
So the user wants to know, when you are searching, does the search look at the code description only, or does it search like the long help or the hover help as well as the code description?
I believe it searches just the text, is what I believe.
Yes, I think that's correct.
That's what I believe. And I have the answer to that somewhere. I'm just trying to look through my notes here to make sure of that. But I believe it's the main thing it's searching is the actual text of the code. And let me just see here. All right, so it's also searching the, although these could actually be, I don't want to bring that up. I don't want to show that for everyone.
Those are codes, Laura. That's in the code
those
description.
are actually code descriptions. Those were code descriptions, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm like, why isn't my nothings coming up? So yeah, I believe we're only searching, I believe right now today, what we're searching is the code description. So when we search for codes, we're searching the code description. When this first came out, I know that one of the things that I had asked was, could we search the long help, and could we search the hover help? Could we have options for searching those things up here? But I think we were trying to keep it more simple than complicated in the beginning. But as you work with this, or as you play with it, and if you decide that you'd really like to be able to search the long help and the hover help as well, we can ask for those as options. So we got this great big dialog box. We might as well put some stuff in it. I'm actually writing long help and hover help down. Okay. So we want to be able to do and/or searches and long help, hover help searches as well. Probably want to be able to search by code ID. All right. What else?
We have two more questions.
Okay.
One is, can you give a brief definition of what a master code book is? I know you have a training session coming up dealing with master code book, but someone wants to know, what is a master code book?
Yeah, master code books were introduced with the release of Ascribe Coder. And basically, master code books is a way for us to keep a list of codes, a master list of codes that are linked to the codes in our code books, like throughout Ascribe. And if we change the master, it changes it in all the code books. The only way to change it is by changing the master. This was created mainly so that for consistency, for groups that use the same code books over and over. They wanted to make sure that when they updated the long help in their cleans code, that the long help was updated throughout. So we came up with this master code book and implemented it. Again, I know that's not probably the best description, and I don't have the help for master code books right in front of me, so I'm sure there's a better description in the help for it. But it's basically a way for us to maintain our codes on our site, the codes that we use most often in one place. So this particular client might have 300 code books that have the code clean in it. And anytime they update that code clean, like if they update the regular expression or if they update the long help, they wanted it to update everywhere that they were using that code. So they have a master list of codes that's linked to, well, really it's linked to their account code books, and they create their production code books from their accounts. But I'll be going over that. I can go over that more. Antoine, can you simplify that any? I haven't given it a whole lot of thought to state it.
No, I think you did a better job than what I'll be able to do to try to simplify it.
Okay, great. Any other? You said was there one more question?
The last question, the user wanted to know if these training sessions, when and where with the training sessions, the recordings for the training sessions will be available.
Yes, and actually I had that. I usually go over that in the beginning. I lost my flow today. Actually, I have a number of recordings that I'm trying to publish. We're trying to figure out the best way. They're quite big, so we're trying to figure out the best place to put them. They may end up on YouTube with a link on the home page until they can figure out how to get them on our website in an efficient way. So that's one of the things. I was hopeful to have those done by Friday, but we ran into another glitch. So I will have those. I will have those published. Like I said, if nothing else, I'm going to put them on YouTube and give everybody a link to our YouTube, to our Ascribe YouTube account. But they'll be coming out as soon as possible. If you want an individual one, Antoine does have a way to give you a link to them in the GoToMeeting atmosphere, but you have to create a login and a password and all this other stuff, and we didn't want to do that for the whole. So if there's one that you're dying to have, email us and we can get you one of those. But yeah, those are, we're working on publishing those. The other thing is that I am scheduling my new set of webinars. I'm trying to figure out all of the logistics of them now, when they're going to be, and they may only be half-hour sessions because we're breaking it down even smaller. But I'm scheduling those for March. The March schedule should be up by the end of the week. And we also have a couple of overview videos that will be available for Ascribe Coder. Those are currently on YouTube, on our Ascribe YouTube account. So all of those things are kind of in the works now. Also, if you wanted to schedule a session with me or one of my team members just for a Q&A session on Ascribe Coder, we're very happy to do that. You know, I'm glad everybody's sitting in on these webinars. It's really, it's getting everybody acclimated. But if your team has some questions that are very specific to your group, we're happy to schedule a 30-minute Q&A session to go over those things. We really want to make sure that everyone is using Ascribe Coder prior to the removal of review responses in the single response coder interface in June. So one of the things that I've been telling people is if you find yourself, you know, really trying to use Ascribe Coder, but you have to go back to review responses, let us know why. Just send an email. Say, this is why I'm going back to review responses, so we can see if we can help you troubleshoot it and figure it out. Because that's, you know, in June we're not going to be able to go to review responses. And I think that was, anything else, Antoine?
No, that was it for the questions.
Okay. Cool. Be looking for the videos and be looking for the March webinars. And just so you know, we will be scheduling webinars for March, April, May, June, and July. You know, so that your coders are, you know, if you want to sit in on something and ask a question, it'll be fine. And as I always say, when we get to scheduling webinars and only 2 or 3 people sign up for them, that's usually when we decide to mix the webinars and just rely on the videos and individual sessions after that. Okay. Thank you again, everyone, for your for attending and for your interest in Ascribe Coder, and we look forward to hearing feedback. And Antoine, if that's all, we'll end the session. Nothing.